Welcome to the solar eclipse in Libra, October 2nd. This is happening, and in this video, we're breaking it down. We're going to go through what the eclipse means in general, and then I will be doing a report on this eclipse for each sign of the zodiac, starting with Aries and going through Pisces. There are timestamps below, and you can watch your sun, moon, and rising. Also, very exciting, I'm running a course on aspects. It's called Unlock Your Aspects. It's a 6-week live course with me that teaches you how to break down aspects in your natal chart. So if you just want to take your astrology to the next level, if you get stuck when you start trying to read aspect yourself because you don't know how to read a trine and a square at the same time, this course is going to give you the tools to begin reading aspects for yourself. Not just looking them up on Google, but actually applying astrology to your own chart or the charts of other people. Click the link below to get in. I hope to see you in there. It starts September 21st. It's exclusive live, which means if you want to join us while I do the videos live, you need to get into this cohort because I don't run my lives more than once. There's not like a next one that we're doing. Maybe someday, but it's not something I plan on. When I launch a course, I'm just doing it. So if you want to join and get a chance to interact directly with the material with me, then jump into the course. I would love to see you in there. And there's a link in the description for more. So going on to our eclipse happening. Now, this is our last solar eclipse in Libra of this series. It's the third eclipse in Libra that we've had in the last couple years, which is normal. It is normal during eclipses because it's just normal. They'll be in a few signs and then they'll move to the next signs and then they'll move to the next signs. So this is energy we're already kind of familiar with. For those of you who tend to get scared of eclipses, don't be scared. Because eclipses last until the next eclipse, and then another one happens 6 months later, and that lasts until the next eclipse, roughly. We're always under the influence of an eclipse. And while they are to be treated with reverence and to be respected, they are not always going to get you. The eclipse is not always going to get you. So that being said, let's talk about what this eclipse is going to be about. First of all, it's happening on October 2nd, 2024, 12:46 p.m. Pacific time and at 10 degrees of Libra. This will affect you most if you have your sun, moon, or rising are the cardinal signs. That's Aries, Libra, Capricorn, or Cancer. It will also affect you if you have personal planets in those signs around 10 degrees. So let's just round it to 5 to 15 degrees of Aries, Libra, Capricorn, or Cancer. And that's your sun, moon, Mercury, Venus, or Mars, or your rising sign. It's not the same. It will still affect you if it's an outer planet, if it's Saturn or Jupiter or something, but it's not the same as if it were one of your personal planets. Because your personal planets are what's happening in your personal life. Okay. So that's who's most affected by this eclipse, but everyone will be affected by every eclipse, based on, their Libra house and their chart. We'll get into that when we get into the, forecast for the different signs. Okay, so let's talk about break this eclipse down a little bit because it's a South Node solar eclipse. So it's kind of like a mix of energies because the sun kind of represents what we're grabbing onto, what we're heading toward, our goals and our vision, and what we see happening next, what we want to accomplish, our life force energy. It's not just our ego, right? It's like our desires, our wants, our ambitions. And with the South Node, though, it's not just us wanting to be more ambitious in this area. It's us needing to release something so we can have the ambitions we want, possibly through a process of realizing what it is about that area of life that we don't need to, obsess over. What about that area of life can we let go of so we can have what we actually want? It's kind of like, we'll just leave it there. letting go of something to have something else. So it's not straightforward, right? So when the south node is with the moon or the north node is with the sun, these eclipses are more like straight, like all releasing or all going towards something. But when it's not like that, it's a mix. Also, just a reminder that we don't normally do manifesting rituals on the eclipse. And I know people get super upset about that. So I want to talk about why. Eclipses are volatile and they are not predictable. So if you choose to manifest during an eclipse, then you're going to bring all that energy with it. Now, I'm not talking about like if you normally visualize every day, or you normally journal every day. I'm talking about when people are doing ritual or doing, specific things to call in the energy of the eclipse to help you manifest a thing. This is not advised. And it is not advised because something bad will come with it, but basically is what will happen. So what is recommended is you just chill and meditate on the day of the eclipse. Let's go ahead and go to our aspects for this eclipse. The eclipse is conjunct Mercury. It's also square Mars in Cancer, and Venus, which rules the eclipse, is trining up to Mars. So this is like an interesting blend of, us moving forward with relationships and communicating in relationships and, creating agreements that are fair and going back and forth to accomplish our aims when it comes to who we need to work with or, the people we want to partner up with in any capacity in the next 6 months. Now, Mars squaring means that there might be some tension or pressure or urgency for us. It's almost like, and remember, this will affect everyone differently, right? So it's like for one person, this could be, you really need to get a lawyer because you have to. Another person might really need to start working with an accountant. Another person might need to get into, some medical testing. Another person it might be about just relationships. We'll see specifically when we get to the forecast for each sign, but it's like Mars in Cancer with eclipse in Libra gives me a feeling of like figuring out how to get what we want in certain ways in the next 6 months without using brute force. And with Venus, the ruler of the eclipse, trine Mars, at least we have something trining. But with Mars here, it just kind of adds more, dynamic tension to the situation. Maybe a lot of us need to use our charisma or charm people, in the next 6 months. Now, again, this is so general, right? Because it's the chart as a whole. But let's go ahead and get into what it means for each sign of the zodiac, starting with Aries, going to Pisces. You can click the link for your sun, moon, and rising, and be sure to let me know at the end of watching how it resonates. I always love hearing from you. So for Aries, sun, moon, and rising, the solar eclipse in Libra, October 2nd, is going to be in your 7th house of partnership. So this doesn't mean you're going to lose a partner or gain one necessarily. Some might, but that's not the signification. The signification is bringing focus and awareness to what you want in your relationships, and maybe needing to release something about a relationship so you can gain something else. Being aware of what needs to be let go of. That could be within an existing partnership. This could be if you are not in a relationship, it could actually be either some areas like going to a doctor, going to a lawyer, going to some kind of professional. It could also be you realizing what you want in love. And if relationships in your life is just not an active topic, then it could also be you and your friends, or whoever these significant other people in your life are, romantic or otherwise, that are like peers, those people, focusing on what you need with those people, what you want with those people. So if you're like really busy and you just have clients, maybe it's you figuring out what you want with your clients. If you are, if you have a lot of close friends, maybe you're having a lot of conversations with them, and that involve figuring out or really learning at this time what it is about conversation, what it is about connection in your life that is not worth like forcing. If there's been forcing, where do you need to stop forcing? Do you need to stop forcing your partner to work out or something? It could be any little thing like that. Although that's probably not the best example. So forget I said that, Aries. Let's look at, the square from Mars brings tension from the 4th house to the 7th house, which can be like emotional stuff with a relationship or things related to where you live in a relationship, or family versus partner challenges where, the mom is being passive aggressive and the wife is mad or something, or vice versa. Just apply this to what makes sense in your life. And then with Venus in the 8th house trining Mars, this can also have indications of like what's going on with you and your partner when it comes to money. Maybe some Aries need to stop spending so much on their partner. Maybe they need to chip in more, or vice versa, or there's stuff going on with that. Maybe there's stuff going on with intimacy right now where it could increase intimacy, or it could put more focus on intimacy. That can be, some kind of, with Mars can sever. So this can be like stopping intimacy for some reason. Maybe some Aries could, like, for example, just some of you could have a baby, and then it's like, there's a focus on there's letting go of something in a relationship, right? Because your time with your partner isn't yours anymore. There's all these possibilities, but it's going to involve, for Aries, really focus on your relationships. Are they authentic? Can you be who you are in these relationships? And do you need to stop? I don't feel like it's stop talking. I think it's balancing the listening versus the talking. I think it's what doesn't need to be said. What doesn't need to be said might be some kind of a theme. And yeah, if you're single and you're Aries, this eclipse might be for you more about, let me think. Letting go of certain expectations you had to find the partner that's right for you. That seems obvious, but let me think. Why can't I see anything here? Yeah, we also do have Jupiter in the 3rd trining the eclipse, which makes me feel like it's just a very people-oriented time, that this eclipse is foreshadowing, because even that 3rd house is like the people in your current environment, your neighbors, your neighborhood. If you're trying to meet someone, maybe you're going to go out into your neighborhood. But overall, I think for Aries, it's going to be, 7th house stuff which is partnership. Now, keep in mind, you could be signing contracts. You can be making agreements in the next 6 months related to things that could happen in your life, career stuff, life stuff, relationships. Moving is a possibility for some of you, but it really is bringing in partnership and harmonious partnership, and maybe even some, because the nodes always affect both axes. And so 7th house eclipses affect you and your personality and your life and your life direction. So it's like, again, moving. It's, moving, being able to kind of go where you want, do what you want with who you want to do it with, and making those major life decisions of what dynamics are supporting your partner or not. With Mars in Cancer, it does feel like those of you in partnership may be focusing on the dynamics of what's going to support your partner. Your partner might be complaining to you more during this time, some of you. But overall, it does really feel like new beginnings in relationships. And I can't, but by releasing something. So, again, doesn't mean you have to have a breakup, but figuring out how you're spending your time in relationship, figuring out how much free time you're going to get and how much time you're going to spend with this person. Are you going to move in together? Are you like, how are you doing your day-to-day life? But Jupiter is going to bring solutions to that. So, and Jupiter will be in Gemini for quite some time, continuing to support you and help you, meet the right people in your environment, have good friends around you possibly, and, just get ideas for solutions, especially related to things related to communication. Okay, so that is what I have for Aries, and we're going to go on now to the next sign, which is Taurus. Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Rising, we are here with your... Okay, for Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Rising, the solar eclipse is happening in your 6th house, which is all about your work, your work, what you're working on, projects you're working on, effort you're putting into things that may be more like either projects or overtime or things that require work, but you don't necessarily get paid for. Sometimes it's like projects being of service, helping others. It can be also like fixing stuff or like improving stuff, especially around the house or with your car. Some Tauruses will be like fixing your car during this time, but the sun is going to illuminate that 6th house of problems, like how you solve your problems. For some, it's going to be health, but not everyone. But the question around the 6th house is like, for Tauruses during this time, for the next 6 months, is what do you need to release in your health or your nutrition or your diet or your work in terms of the projects that you're working on? Because the 6th house can also be like a labor of love. That what do you need to release in these areas to allow yourself to shine brighter, accomplish more, and head in the direction you want to head? It's a combined energy here of moving forward on the path by letting go of something. And so with Jupiter in the second, it doesn't feel like you're letting go of physical things. With Jupiter here, this can actually bring more gain for physical things during this time. It's possible you can buy more stuff, or you can have more money, or you could be working harder to make more money. But that south node there makes it feel like there's changing involved. It's not just, I'm going to work harder for 6 months and make more money. No. It's maybe you need to release a certain type of work or certain way of approaching work so that you can make more money. Maybe there's a project you do on the side or something you spend your time on that is like trying to fix something or trying to make something better, and you realize you just have to stop and hire someone. Or it can be, it can be something like this. But I would say, if you want to work with this eclipse energy consciously for October 2nd and the next 6 months, it's asking yourself, what do I need to release? What do I need to let go of in my diet, my routines, and like surrender to and not obsess over it? It could be anything, right? Depending on where you're at on the scale. So let's say you're a Taurus who is going to the gym 3 times a day, and then you meet someone, Venus in the 7th. Well, maybe you can go to the gym once or twice, and like, it's like that. It's like there's this, ability to kind of realize what you might be clinging too tightly to in that area, and it might be anything. But I think Jupiter in the 2nd is going to help you make the money to figure it out. And so this, I get the metaphor of someone who's like buying a bunch of supplements and they really just need to go to the doctor. Like maybe that's not the right metaphor. Let me think of something else. Someone who is like, okay, let's say you want to look your absolute best, Taurus, and you want to do a glow up and you want to know your best colors. It's the difference between the person who looks it all up themselves and is like, okay, which one am I and which color season am I? And they try to fix their hair and they try to do their makeup and they do a half-assed job of doing it all themselves, when it would have cost them less to just spend the money in the first place. So it's kind of that little bit of a theme in your life here for the next 6 months. Keep in mind, this is not the only thing going on. But with Venus in the 7th, Venus rules the eclipse. So Venus is bringing focus to your relationships and what you want to receive in relationships. This is why I thought about like needing to stop going to the gym for love. It's like, what do you need to stop doing in your day-to-day life for love? What do you need to change about your day-to-day life for enjoyment, agreement, and harmony with others? If you're a Taurus who's single right now and relationships aren't really on the radar, this could be more with the other people you're around, the close people to you, whoever is your people, whoever are your close friends or even people you work with really closely. And then, Mars in the 3rd squaring the eclipse and trining Venus in the 7th means you're probably going to be busy during this time. When Mars goes through your 3rd, it can make you busy. It can make you really want to like attack your schedule and want to attack everything and get it done and just like go out and attack the to-do list and just kind of force your way through. But it's in Cancer, so it's like you're not going to hurt anyone's feelings, but you just want to gently get everything done, if that makes sense. So how does that apply to like a 6-month cycle? Well, maybe that this is a time where there's a lot of focus on getting things accomplished, up-leveling, upgrading. It's almost like, okay, I fixed my car and I got it detailed. Now I got to detail the house. That's not a thing, but you know what I mean? Like get it deep cleaned. And then now the house is deep cleaned. Now maybe I got to go redo my pantry and just clean out all the old food and get it out of there. And then and it doesn't have to be just cleaning and projects like that. It could be now I got to deal with my taxes. Now I got to deal with something with my partner that they've been going on a trip with my partner that they've been wanting to do that is like something I have to just do and deal with, or things like that. So while on one hand this does feel like a time where it's financially motivated to like fix everything, like making that money so you can get everything in order, there's also some energy here around like it's just a very busy kind of time where you might not be as social, you might be more just trying to accomplish. And it doesn't feel like it has to be bad, but it just feels like you have a lot of things you want to get done here. There's things that need tending to, and this will be a time where you're probably just tending to things that need it. So this is very grounded, very focused. Doesn't mean there aren't any more fun transits coming up. You do have other stuff coming up. So I hope I'm not making you bored. It's just what I see. I see a lot of focus on the physical world, and it might have to do also with like how you treat your possessions, what you're doing with your possessions. Maybe you need to release some possessions so you can move in with a partner, or maybe you need to let go of some things so that you can, what else? Like just, I don't know, just be more cleansed, and feel more cleansed. Another thing with these 6th and the 12th that I hadn't thought of yet is this axis to me is a lot about like spiritual versus material in a way, because that 12th house is very psychological and private, and the 6th house is very much like getting into work, getting into action. So if you have been in a time where you've been meditating more, that's cool, or spending more time to yourself, or spending more time going over things in your mind, or kind of figuring things out. This might be a time where now you're getting busy, now you're getting into action, you're getting more into something that you're bringing into your daily life and focusing on things that you're doing more. So that's what I have for Taurus, and let me know how it lands for you. And we're going to go on now to Geminis. All right, Gemini, the solar eclipse is happening in your 5th house of fun. So an solar eclipse in the fun house can definitely bring more fun, but it can also be a time to release things that brought you pleasure that maybe you realize you're clinging too tightly to. This could be anything. Now, examples here could be, and think of what applies to your life the most. It's a general forecast. Examples of releasing but also moving toward that 5th house is like, maybe you are an artist and you're letting go of the need to do it a certain way, or you're making art and then selling it and not like trying to own it, or maybe you are releasing the need to create a certain way and you're letting yourself have more freedom. Maybe if you're any kind of artist, right, visual or otherwise, in any kind of creative activity, and that can be for your business if you write or you speak or you come up with, scripts, or you I can only think of Mercury type stuff, or you know, are a graphic designer or anything that creates something. Well, then you might be letting go of something about the creation process. You might be realizing where you're stuck here and where you need to kind of change some things and so that you can create in the way that you want to. How can you have your pleasure without forcing yourself to have it? How can you have your pleasure or the things that you enjoy or, you know, your creation process without controlling everything? You know, what it is, where are you stuck in this and where do you need to kind of release? So that's kind of coming up, as well as the, you know, Mercury in the 5th makes it feel like writing or speaking might have something to do with it. For some of you, if you're having kids right now, well, it's probably about your kids. In terms of releasing control in some area while also still focusing on it. It doesn't feel like a loss, right? It doesn't feel like a loss. It feels like an awareness and a clarity of how to change how you proceed here. Now, Jupiter in the first trining the eclipse is very, very nice because Jupiter gets a lot of power in your first whole sign house and it's able to really support you. What that means is you doing things that are healing or communicating in ways or, you know, Jupiter kind of helps you just get better at being you when it's in your first house and brings more opportunities. It is possible that sometime during this eclipse cycle, this 6-month period, Geminis might have opportunities to do some kind of creative work, but it requires doing it differently than you had before, right? So, you know, maybe you have to let go of being I'm going to give an example here. Let's say you're a graphic designer and you're working on Fiverr. Of course, you don't have to work on Fiverr or anything, but just my example. And someone asks you to do a thing a certain way, and you're like, no, I'm an artist. And then you won't do what the customer wants. Instead, you want to, you know, this is exactly what take this metaphor and figure out how it applies to your life, because this is exactly what this eclipse is about for you. And you're like, no, I'm an artist. I have to be, you know, the owner of this creation, and I have to, it has to be all about my art. It's like you're in that artist energy, and it's a beautiful energy sometimes, but this is not that. This is the energy of, yeah, making the art, but then giving the people what they want. And if you are not an artist or you're not doing anything creative and that does not apply to you at all, this might have to do, because the 5th and the 11th, right, with the nodes, it's always going to ping both axes in any eclipse. So with the 5th and the 11th, I think of like the artist versus the audience, but it's also what makes you happy versus what makes the group happy. And it's not about sacrificing one or the other. It's about figuring out where there's too much excess of what makes you happy and not enough of what makes other people happy, or not enough of what would, you know, make the audience happy. You know, like when a rock star goes on stage, they don't just sing their favorite songs, they sing the crowd's favorite songs. So what area in your life do you need to sing the crowd's favorite songs, Gemini? Just apply that to what fits. But Jupiter's going to help bring opportunities. So this might be kind of a big lesson that you're finishing up along this axis, and you can reflect upon the last year and a half of, you know, what's been changing for you around these dynamics. Now with Venus in the 6th in this eclipse, there's also some energy around maybe being able to receive, let me think about it. I always think of food in the 6th house. That's not all there is. So maybe you get sweets more during this cycle, but it feels more like receiving something relational, maybe your partner helps you handle your day-to-day problems. Maybe your partner helps you calm your mind during this time. Maybe you have a significant other, someone you're dating, or something like that, who just brings support, or maybe even a child who brings support into your life by listening to you talk about your problems. That is actually a possibility here. But I also see the possibility of it bringing joy into your day-to-day activities, bringing more enjoyment, even though there's something difficult about it maybe, or even though maybe it takes you to a dark place in a way, or like in order to solve your problems, you're dealing with some more, I don't want to say that because like this, it doesn't feel like that for like this whole time, right? But Scorpio energy is intense. So having Venus and Scorpio in the 6th for the eclipse is like, is pleasure becoming pain? You know, are we making our life more dramatic? Is there drama in our life? Does the partner bring some drama? Do they come with some baggage? And we're like, okay, we're going to deal with this right now. Now, Mars in the 2nd means there will be focus on making money, and that there will be focus on, you know, maybe some tension in your life between what you're creating in your life and how much you're getting paid for it. Maybe you are, I just keep getting the metaphor of artist. Please fill it in with what makes sense for you. But it's like, maybe your work isn't making you as much as you want to be making. You're having to like really kind of force the energy, you know. Mars in the 2nd is you're busy. You're busy kind of feeding, nurturing this baby. You know, is it a real baby, Gemini? Maybe. Is it a labor of love? Is it something you're trying to do with work that is going slower than you want it to with Saturn in that 10th house? Yeah, something's going on here that requires some energy. It's like, I kind of get the feeling of Gemini just putting a lot of energy into a project, a labor of love, or an actual child. So, but part of that is knowing when not to. Knowing, you know, if you've read 27 baby books, maybe you can stop now and just feel good. And feel good for the purpose of your baby being, you know, if you're pregnant or something, you know, like just take the metaphor if it doesn't fit. And what do? You need to just feel happy, right? Because like being calm and in a good state is going to help more than like, you know, so it's like, this really makes me feel like too much of a good thing is a bad thing, you know, where when something is good, it's good, but when even too much of the best medicine becomes poison. So, and I don't mean real poison, right? I mean like, if you're studying, if you love studying, too much studying will, you know, you won't feed the rest of your life. So I just keep getting the feelings of feeding and nurturing when I'm talking to you. So it's like, what are you feeding? What are you nurturing? What do you want your life to grow? What are you giving too much fertilizer and you need to chill and just let it grow naturally? And, you know, that's what I have for Geminis for this eclipse. Let me know if it makes sense. I always love hearing from you. And check out my aspects course in the link below. Bye, guys. For Cancers, the eclipse is happening in your 4th house of home, family, emotional foundation, roots, your ancestry. It really is probably going to be a more emotional eclipse in the sense that I don't think that means you're going to be crying on that day. What I mean by that is it might affect how you feel, and you might be spending the next 6 months really maybe journaling more with that Mercury in the 4th, or really just focusing on how you feel and getting to the bottom of how you feel about some things. And with the South Node here, there's a real possibility that you are focusing on emotional release, journaling to let things out, talking about your problems, you know, getting support in private matters of home, family dynamics. Not every Cancer is going to be like doing therapy, but man, if you want to, the universe is going to be like, the energy supports this so much because Jupiter is also in the 12th house, where the way Jupiter helps you in that 12th house is by helping you solve psychological problems, helping you make your internal world better. So if you're like going over things in your mind, or you have things in your mind to go over, Jupiter's going to help you do it in like a not necessarily in a positive way, but like get benefit from meditating, get benefit from thinking about old hurts, but in a way that's like brings growth or nourishment, or again, emotional release. Okay, so it doesn't mean you're going to be doing this every day, but this might be a theme for the next 6 months, where Cancer, you're like, okay, I had this thing I was grieving. Now I want to be done with the grieving and I want to move on. Or, you know, I had these things happen a long time ago or whenever. Now I'm ready to deal with it, but deal with it by letting it go. This actually feels really positive to me for you. Especially with Saturn being in your ninth house, bringing sort of a potential to feel like if you're not fully connected with a higher power, or if your spiritual life is lacking, or, something like that, Saturn's going to bring attention to it. It's going to bring attention to areas or ways that you felt let down by gurus, let down by leaders, spiritual leaders, let down by God, so to speak, or just bring a desire to, or, I don't know, make you feel like you're not connecting or something. But Jupiter helps make this better. So with Jupiter, it's like you can call on your spirit guides. You can call on your angels. You can pray. You can meditate. You can go to a therapist or a counselor. This is not advice of any kind, but you can go to someone who the purpose of talking to them is to help you understand yourself more deeply, and you can get insights. So I actually love this one. I'm kind of jealous. But moving on to what that eclipse rules. So Venus is in your fifth. Venus rules the eclipse. So what that means is that there's going to be something about pleasure as well. And like pleasure is pain with Venus and Scorpio. So it might be going through things where someone who loved you hurt you. And like, why did they do that if that's love? Or it could be going through and discovering things that you enjoy were hurting you, or how you enjoy things that have more intensity to them or more depth. And again, psychological depth is coming up. Now with Mars in Cancer, this is in your sign. Usually you're going to be busier, so it can just be you're busier. But how it affects this fourth house is maybe there's some tension between what you want to be doing and what your family needs from you. Or maybe there is some focus here on just having a lot to deal with related to matters of family and matters of self, right? So Mars in the first is like, I want to go do what I want. And Mars is your 10th house ruler, so it's about your career. So on one hand, there's this career focus where it's like, I got stuff to do. I got things to accomplish. But it might be that Cancers right now are more career motivated than ever to support their family or defend their family or help their family. They might be more business focused or more career focused, and at the same time dealing with all this emotional stuff. Another keyword I like for the fourth house is belonging. Like, where do you belong? It's not about like in public, but like, where do you feel like you belong in your own skin, around what people? It's like, what environment do you thrive, but in a personal way? Does that make sense? So you might be discovering that. And also with the nodes being on the 10th and the 4th house axes, this can also be you. Also, again, career focused, reputation focused, but needing to release something in your 4th house so that you can move forward in work and career. This might be moving. This might be working more and getting less time at home. It might be less meditating. It just kind of depends on which Cancer we're talking about here. Let me see what else I can think about here. I think that's all I have for Cancers on this one. It's really about, I feel like this is a very potentially therapeutic time, right? When the 9th house has Saturn, the 4th house has a bunch of planets, the 12th house, it's just very internal, while at the same time Mars bringing some energy to the external world as well, and feeling like, what do I need to do to nourish myself so that I can win? Maybe another thing that you're feeling during this time or you're working on. So that's what I have for Cancers. Be sure to check out my aspects course below and let me know how it resonates. And we're going to move on to our next sign, which is Leos. Okay, for Leos, the solar eclipse in Libra is happening in your third house of your third house of your immediate environment, siblings, and your car, what you're busy doing day to day, kind of like your schedule and stuff, your immediate environment. And it's on the third house, 9th house axis, which is the axis of immediate environment versus long-term travel, but it's also it can be about communication and publishing. So that's going to apply more if you're someone who publishes or writes or something. Now, one of the first things I wonder here for Leos, are some of you possibly considering doing less on your social media for the next 6 months? This could be a thing. It doesn't have to be. If some of you are out there, you're like, no, that's what I want to be doing. That's fine. But some Leos may be realizing that they're doing too much of the busy work, right? With that eclipse in the third house, needing to let go of something, like let go of writing every day, let go of posting on Twitter every single day, every single hour, and always having to do it. And it doesn't mean you're stopping. It just means you're letting go of something or a way of being related to that thing. Now, this could also be your communication, where you are releasing a need to communicate in a certain way and you're opening up to a new way of communicating or something. That could also be a thing. What else do I see for this third house? The third house rules siblings. So if you are a Leo who has siblings and their lives are significant to your life, with the South Node here, it might be you just spend less time with a sibling during this time, or, you realize you don't need to help them as much, or there might be some awareness, some clarity and awareness of how you are clinging too tightly to a sibling. Now, I'm not gonna, predict any problems or anything, but if there were problems or are problems with a sibling this might be a time, I almost get the metaphor, right, of like your sibling's an alcoholic and then you start going to Al-Anon and then you start learning how to detach with love. Now, only take what resonates. Some of you don't even have siblings. So if you don't have siblings, it's not for you. But it's like learning to detach with love from someone in your immediate environment, because with Venus in the fourth house, it's in Scorpio, it's the ruler of the eclipse. It's almost like a sibling is in pain and you're having to let go. It doesn't mean you have to let go of them, but maybe you need to let go of trying to fix it for them when they won't do it. Maybe you need to let go of, maybe they're like calling you 5 times a day and you're like, let's just do every other day, right? It could be a bunch of different scenarios, but with Venus in the fourth, there's intensity in family dynamics that could be starting with a sibling and something, maybe challenging to overcome, maybe some kind of fight or argument or something, or some deep resentments are being unearthed and you're like, all right, let's not go there anymore or something. And I don't think you're going to stop talking to a sibling during this time, but I do think Leos may be having some clarity and realization on what they need to stop doing or how they need to, shift and reduce the intensity of their focus on a certain area. That could be a sibling. Sometimes it's a person in your immediate environment who you see all the time. In the third house, especially if you are in a stage of life or you don't have siblings, or you're not really, that they're not involved in your day to day. So what else can this be, this solar eclipse in the third house? Well, it could be focusing more on writing. For those who write, you could be writing. For those who write, perhaps you're letting go of a certain way of doing things so you can write more. For those who are, let me think. It really could also affect your neighborhood or your environment. So think, Leo, about like your daily commute or your daily day-to-day errands that you run, where you're going to pick us stuff up or go to the store, that kind of thing. If there's something about that process that's like significant to you, maybe you stop mailing packages every day and you do them every once in a week for your business, right? So just think about how that applies to you in a more meaningful way. And if it doesn't, don't worry about it. But Jupiter in the 11th is helping, which makes me feel like friends or an audience can help you maybe get your message across. Maybe you're leveraging communities or leveraging podcasts with other people to get your message across to a larger audience without having to do the work every single day. Now, for those who that doesn't apply, maybe with Jupiter in the 11th, something related to your friends it feels like this is a time to be more social, where you could be more social. Jupiter will help. Especially if you are someone who has sort of lost intimacy in a way with Saturn in the 8th. Not everyone has, but some have. And, Jupiter in the 11th there being about solving problems in groups and maybe, doing mastermind type stuff. And again, like letting go of busy work in some way, letting go of busy work. And maybe it's because you change your routine up. Maybe it's because you are doing a different kind of work that's more of a long-term project. It could be a bunch of stuff, but it feels like the benefit or the thing that you have going for you here is that 11th house Jupiter it's a pretty good place for Jupiter right now. So asking friends how to do things that maybe you're taking too long to do, or working with others is really highlighted for Leos right now. And now with Mars in the 12th, sometimes Mars in the 12th is going to show us where we, if you have any anger that you're hiding from yourself, or, sometimes Mars in the 12th will be that. For you, Mars rules your 9th house, but also your 4th house. So again, this goes back to kind of family dynamics, making your day-to-day schedule be different in some way. And that doesn't have to be bad, right? It could be that the kids are now in school and you have more time, and now you get to fill it with what you want to fill it with. So it can be something like that, but it does feel like maybe there's a little bit of stress or tension around the topic that has to be worked through. So overall for Leos, it's good for focusing on communication. The nature of your communication might change, and you'll have to see which 3rd/9th house topic affects you the most, whether it's like teaching or learning, whether it's writing or speaking, whether it's travel or staying in a neighborhood, whether it's, delivering things or ordering things or something, just depending, or social media, depending on what's going on with your life. So that is what I have for Leos. And we're going to move on to our Virgos now. For Virgos, the solar eclipse is in your 2nd house of money, money, things, possessions. So this might be focusing on what you have and what you own, but also what you need to let go of in terms of money. This doesn't mean Virgos are all going to become monks and stop working, but it does feel like where have you had to try to force to make money? What has been too hard? What have you maybe wanted that you realize is maybe not an authentic goal? What is it about your finances that you want to change? And it's almost like your focus might become on making money, but in a less materialistic way. How do you do that? I don't know. But the South Node makes the thing more spiritual. So the South Node in the 2nd is a little bit weird for money, because money is of the world, and that's what the North Node is doing. And the North Node's in your 8th house. So it's almost like you're focusing more on not spending money on yourself, but instead investing it, paying off debt, or paying taxes. Maybe you're focusing more on spending on others instead of yourself. Maybe you are and willing to kind of see, maybe this is the cycle where you're like, okay, I got to change this. I got to let go of how much I'm spending on me and start spending on things that I have. Like, I'm going to not buy clothes, and I'm going to pay off debt every month and get my credit higher. Or, I'm going to stop getting coffee, and I'm going to start, I don't know. I don't know this world of things. I'm going to start investing in a retirement account or in insurance or something like that. So it doesn't feel like you are losing money, like, oh, I just don't want money, unless you are consciously choosing, this isn't making me happy. This thing that I'm doing just for money, it's not lining up with my vision. So I need to approach it with less, what's the word? Less ambition, even though it still feels like the ambition goes to your money, but it's like being ambitious with money in less of I have money now, I'm this kind of person way, and more in I take care of other people, or in a way that is, you're spending your money on things people don't see. So it's like, I'm not going to buy clothes anymore. Or I'm going to go to Goodwill now from now on, and then just only invest, or only, buy stuff that is going to make me healthy, and no one's going to see that, right? So maybe a release of the need for status, And maybe that's partly because of somebody in your environment. With Venus in the third house, sometimes this will be a sibling, sometimes it will be a person in your local environment, like a neighbor or a roommate, or a or like someone you see regularly on your commute or something. And it could be that that person is toxic. It might not be, but it could be like toxic neighbor, gotta go move or something, you know, or I don't know, gotta move my stuff into storage. I don't know what that would be. But it does feel like for some of you, there could be dealing with if you are a Virgo and you have a toxic sibling, let's just say, this might be an eclipse cycle where you decide to, or you're dealing with going no contact or severing a tie from a sibling or a cousin even. That's a possibility. But Venus in the third can also be you really enjoying your schedule more. And so I almost feel like Virgos could be like, you know what? I'm just not going to work as much, and I'm going to be a little bit more broke, and I'm going to do shit I want to do more. And I'm going to like spend my time studying psychology or learning about astrology, or, you know, and I don't think like you're all going to be monks and go be like living in your vans, but it does feel like a release of the need to make money for money's sake, or make money for achievement's sake, or to reach some goal that's external, and more of a connection to like, how am I going to spend my time in a way that is enjoyable to me and get to the bottom of the things I want to research and focus on. Okay, so then with Mars up in that 11th house, this is going to bring stimulation to your friends and groups that might stress your finances or put stress on your goals. This could just be, you know, with Mars in the 11th, Venus in the third, some of you Virgos, it could be more actual positive stuff, like more people you see in groups want to date you. But Mars can also be an asshole. So you might have to deal with some kind of assholes at work, or assholes at somewhere else that you go, that are just like bothering you, you know, and trying to bother you, or just like being crappy and insulting you and giving you passive aggressive insults. I don't want to say that. Shoot. What else could be happening here for Virgos? We could have our Mars squaring that second house being, you know, this could also be money related, where you're busier. You know, 11th house is also money. It's good things, you know, good money, good positive money that just, you know, you got a bonus, you sold something. So Mars in the 11th doesn't really say you're going to get more money. It feels like it's almost like there's stress or tension around how you make your money, the money from the work you do versus how much money you have. So it might be you stop spending so much during this time. And maybe you realize that's what you get clarity on, is like, maybe you're busy offering products or services, or working, or, you know, selling stuff, or just, you know, in your job making good money. But then either friends are influencing you to spend too much of it, and you realize that during this time, or you are just choosing to disconnect or cut off your spending. And again, kind of what I went back to. And it could also be you want to sell things that you don't need with the South Node in the second. You know, so it's possible some Virgos are like, I'm going to get rid of all my stuff and travel the world. Some Virgos could sell a car. But that's not the big, you know, the big major thing I'm getting. Now, let's talk about how Jupiter helps. Jupiter in the 10th can help you do the work you want to be doing. It can help you be happy doing your work. It can help you do more work. It can help you to get the advice you need to do the work you want to do, and find the right teacher when it comes to your, not necessarily just like, oh, things you want to learn for fun, but like the right teacher for the work you want to do for your actual life and your money. And with Jupiter trining the eclipse, this might be that finding the right teacher helps you let go of the things you don't need to do for money. This just feels like what it really is. Let go of the things you don't need to do for money, and while focusing on the things you actually do. Maybe you're spending the same. Maybe you're doing the same kind of work. You're just realizing how to do it differently, that you release the non-money making things and just focus less on reputation things that are not, it's almost like focus less on views, focus more on like sales. Now, if you don't have your business and you're like working for someone or something, this can still be you getting teaching or mentoring in your work to become better at what you do and to focus more on becoming a more valuable asset so that you can make more money. Right? So like if you're a graphic designer, becoming a more expensive graphic designer, that's a keyword I want to leave you with, because I feel like that's the positive spin here. Becoming a more expensive, whatever you do, and whether you're working for someone else or whether you're working for yourself, and really bringing the work that you've done out into the public, with Jupiter in actually, no, that's not what I want to say. But yeah, with Jupiter in the 10th, yeah, it is bringing the work that you've done or the knowledge you have or the teaching or the wisdom you've got up until this point into a more public place. So that's where I want to leave it for Virgos. I hope you enjoy, and I will see you guys in the next video. Also, if you want to join my aspect course, click the link below, and we're going to move on now to Libras. Libras, the solar eclipse in Aries. Libra is in the first house of you. This is your body, your life direction, and what you're doing. So oftentimes, first house eclipses are about your job, your partner, your family, your home, where you live. They're going to activate major life changes or major life events. Now, this does not mean every Libra is going to move during this 6 months, because remember, this is the third eclipse of the cycle. So we had 2 before, and now this is like the final kind of push to move toward your vision of what you want your life to be through discovering and getting clarity on what you want to let go of. Now, with what you want to let go of, it's like, it doesn't have to be you let go of a job, but it could be you get clarity and awareness around how you want to be doing your job in a different way, or clarity and awareness around, the role you want to have in life. So for some Libras, maybe this is a bit of a glow up, and like letting go of a certain style, or letting go of a certain type of clothes, or a certain type of, sort of physical activity that causes an effect on your appearance. Like maybe you've been working out your arms and like you realize your arms are strong enough, so you stop working out your arms. I don't think it's going to be that simple and that, materialistic, but because it's in the first house, some of this can be, what can I remove from my appearance to make it better? What can I remove from my body to make it better? What can I remove from what I'm doing to make my life better? What can I, release when it comes to my own self-expression and my own character, because that first house is your character. It describes you. It doesn't mean you're like letting go of who you are, but maybe discovering ways that, especially with the sun, the sun is the sun. So it's going to be like ego and like who you define yourself to be, and realizing maybe there's ways up until now, Libra, that you defined yourself to be a certain way, that you realize during this 6-month cycle that you don't have to define yourself like that anymore. Like, let's say you are recovering from some kind of recovery, and maybe now you realize, like, I don't have to label myself that way, because I'm not the person who identifies that way anymore. And I'm thinking of things that maybe you've grown out of, things that, when you first overcome something, it's like, oh, I just got out of a relationship with a narcissist, and it defined you. And then, as you grow and you move on, it's like, oh yeah, that was in the past. That's not really who I am anymore. So Libras may be entering a cycle where you're literally, not literally, but where you're emotionally and psychologically releasing a way that you have from up until now self-defined. And this self-definition could have come in the last, year and a half, or it could have been long time, long standing. Okay, but Mercury is here also on the 1st, so this might have to do with how you're communicating, who you're communicating with, and, the partnerships that you have in your life, as it is Mercury in Libra. Now we also have Venus, which rules the eclipse in the 2nd house of money. So maybe Libras are defining yourself differently related to how much money you make. Not like now you're defining yourself that way, but like now you are seeing yourself as a person who makes X amount of money instead of before. But other ways this can show up is you putting time and energy into your physical world and focusing on money. During this eclipse, focusing on what you have and what you own. And with Mars in the 10th, it really does feel like some of you Libras are going to be hustling. Some of you are going to be working harder. Some of you are going to have more on your plate at work, or you're just going to have more going on related to what you're accomplishing. And that, you might be having not defend yourself at work like people are attacking you, but stand up for yourself at work more. And let me see what else. And it does feel like there is some motivation to, it's like your money motivation is driven by you having a desire of who you want to be. And the work stuff might have to do with money or not. I don't know. I'm seeing Saturn in the 6th. I'm seeing Mars in the 10th. So it's like, this is feeling like where you're working hard, but maybe it's not going to be like the thing that's published today. It's like working hard on a 6-month thing that you're going to get the results after the 6th month of putting in the work. Something like that. And what else? Let me see. Jupiter, we got to talk about Jupiter in the 9th. Jupiter in the 9th bringing a desire to learn spiritual things that are meaningful, go places that are either meaningful travel, meaningful education, meaningful connections to other cultures, meaningful learning, meaningful publishing, things like this. Pick which one resonates the most. And just that helping, or mentors, gurus, astrologers, people who are spiritual leaders, either in your life or in the world that you're following and listening to, helping you maybe come up with the right belief or the right mental framework, or just connect with something greater than yourself. Maybe even just praying to God. For those of you who would do that, that's not everyone here, and that's fine. To get help and support of what are my next steps. And I don't feel like that's because you're stranded. I feel like that's because there's some motivation here to really focus on who do I want to be for the rest of my life. And with Saturn in the 6th, what am I sacrificing for? What's going slow in my day-to-day habits? What problems am I just taking my time to solve because they're not fixable overnight? And, being motivated for that. This doesn't look bad. This looks like it's important. It looks like focusing on you and how you're coming across to other people, focusing on you and what image you're projecting into the world in a work sense, and especially, related to work and money. It's all there. And then that 9th house, though, is this is a good trine from Jupiter that really supports, in the sense that it's like when you know what you're reaching for, you can step up to it. And that's kind of what I feel for Libras at this time, is when you know what you are reaching for in life, when you know what the quest is, when you've looked at the map and you've identified that's where I want to go, this is the kind of person I want to be. So it might be with things you're accomplishing, but it might be who you're becoming. I want to be a person who doesn't get mad when someone is upset with me, or I want to be a person who has strength or patience or resilience, or I want to be a person who can just cultivate peace and has a peaceful effect on others, or is generous, right? So it feels like that. Like, I want to be this person. I'm willing to invest. I'm willing to, go to some difficult lengths or walk through challenges to become this person. That's what I feel for Libras during this time. So let me know if it resonates. I always love hearing from you. And be sure to join my course on aspects, which starts September 21st. I would love to see you in there. And we're going through, it's 6 weeks, so it's still going on. You can still join the lives. And check that out in the link below. All right, bye Libras. And we're going on now to Scorpio. Scorpio, Sun, Moon, and Rising, the solar eclipse in Libra is happening in your 12th house of isolation, meditation, psychology. That's pretty much it. So we're focusing on, in the next 6 months, quiet. We might be focusing on quietude. We might be focusing on getting peaceful enough, getting quiet enough to hear your own thoughts. But with the South Node here, it's almost like for the purpose of letting them go, not to build them up. So this might bring a desire for you to straight up go on a trip and go study with monks. Because I see Mars in that 9th house also bringing a desire. When Mars is there in the 9th, it's either a desire for things to be meaningful, a desire to learn, this voracious appetite to learn. You're publishing something, you're going on some kind of quest. It can be a trip. It doesn't have to be a long trip, but like an overseas trip or something. Now, not everyone is going to be going to, Tibet or something. But it could be like going to a retreat or going somewhere far away from where you are for the purpose of getting quiet with yourself, listening to your own thoughts and trying to cleanse them, especially with that South Node in the 12th. I kind of like it there for that reason, that it's like the 12th house is our self-undoing. So when you're releasing that means you are seeing the pattern, whatever it is, and the South Node can help you release the pattern. Okay, so this is the first one of all the signs that I'm like, hey, this could actually really work for you well if you use this energy. Because that, the sun in the 12th in the eclipse is going to bring, again, it's going to illuminate for you ways that you have certain patterns, right? Certain patterns, certain dynamics in your life, certain ways of doing things, especially if you have ever self-sabotaged, like who hasn't? But you might be really interested or needing to focus at this time on the reasons you have self-sabotaged so that you can stop doing them, right? That's kind of the whole thing, so that you can let them go, not to build them up and to focus on them and keep telling the story, that kind of thing. But let's practice emptiness, let's practice filling our mind with nothing instead of all the negative thoughts, blah, blah, blah. So that is one way this eclipse could show up. Shoot. Hold on one second. Okay, so that is one way this eclipse could show up. And the other way this can show up is perhaps a time that does involve more quietude, that is not something you're initiating, where it's like, maybe there is a lull period of some kind where, it's not the season of your busy work kind of a season. So you're filling your time with busy meditation or not busy meditation, but just spending your time and feeling motivated to really focus on things that give you more of a sense of purpose, things that are like practices or activities that are going to let you, again, connect to yourself, hear your own thoughts, not necessarily have a bunch of noise. For some Scorpios, it's possible during this cycle, there's some awareness of especially a past grief or a past loss that you're coming to terms with, but that's not going to be everyone. And if it's you, you'll know. I think with the North Node, because the eclipses, the North Node is still in the 6th, bringing your attention during this time to 6th house stuff. So I really get the feeling for Scorpios that this is like chop wood, carry water. It's like, how in monasteries they do chores, and it's a spiritual practice to sweep the floor and not think of anything else but sweep the floor. It's a spiritual practice to, just focus on the moment in front of you. and the thing that needs to be done. That's kind of that North Node in the 6th house being like, let's focus on what needs to be done. Let's get it done. Let's not just get it done, but like be here now while taking care of things and solving problems and doing chores and doing the dishes. And, just that, how that repetitive motion of doing the dishes can sometimes be like an intuitive, where you get intuitive hits. I know I always do. Anyway, with Venus in the 1st, this is the ruler of the eclipse in your 1st house. So it brings it to a level of like doing either psychological work or getting quiet with yourself, or, dealing with patterns or something. But that the effect here is to enjoy your life more, enjoy the intensity of life more, enjoy being someone who has more depth in the moment, and like, because Mars and Venus are in a trine here. So it's like Mars in the 9th being that desire and that motivation to connect with spirit, pray to God, study spiritual things. And then Venus in the 1st being the desire to kind of enjoy, almost like with Venus and Scorpio, I think of like enjoying the pain. Enjoying the pain is what it's like my keyword. But it can also be enjoying like the darkness of Scorpio, enjoying the depth, enjoying the psychological, getting in there and like understanding how everything works, or wanting to dress in all black, or wanting to, dress gothic or something, which not everyone's going to do that. I know, but there's something going on with your spiritual life, your psychological life, what's meaningful to you, what's important to you, who you're praying to, what you pray to, and you might just be putting a lot of time and energy into learning about it. It's almost like some of you are going to mystery school during the 6 months, and maybe there's also some emphasis here because Saturn is in the 5th, and there is a nice trine between Saturn, Mars, and I wouldn't say that's nice, actually. Forget I said that. Anyway, Saturn is connected to Venus and Mars. Venus rules the eclipse. So it's in your 5th house, maybe creating a slower, more deliberate moving forward, relating to pleasure. So maybe you're restricting pleasure. Maybe you're choosing to restrict pleasure during this time, or maybe some of you are actually I don't know, something you really love, you don't have access to, and it's forcing you to kind of, maybe I think of like getting sober or stopping drinking coffee or something where you are used to using something to feel better, and you're consciously choosing not to. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be a food. I'm not talking about fulfilling things like going for a walk. I'm talking about like things that can dive into, they feel good, but they're not helping us, right? Venus and Scorpio, like the pain feels good, but it's not like you're refreshed afterwards. And so, I just lost my train of thought. For Scorpio, what else do we have here? Saturn, Venus, Mars. I was going to tell you something else. I just lost it. Oh, we need to talk about Jupiter and how Jupiter helps. Jupiter is in the 8th house. So what can help you right now during this cycle is maybe something related to other people's resources. Maybe some of you get a grant or a scholarship or something to learn astrology or to learn something else. Maybe some of you are going to split something with someone and then you'll get to both do it. Maybe some of you are, let me see. Yeah, maybe some of you have investments and you're taking some money out of your investments or something, because Jupiter is your money planet. So it's almost like it's like your money is helping other people, but then they're helping you maybe. It's almost like, I think like you make a donation to something and they give you a benefit, but it's like a benefit you really want. Of course, this is general, so don't take that as like advice. Anyway, Jupiter in the 8th is other people helping you. This could actually be like counselor, therapist type energy, or someone who has that kind of vibe, in the sense that, the 8th house is psychological as well, and Jupiter will help you recover from psychological problems. Jupiter will help you face and feel and heal things. So that's one way to use this Jupiter during the next 6 months with whatever's going on. Some of you might be recovering from something, right? It's like, yeah, some of you might just need to take time out to recover from something, and Jupiter in the 8th will help with coming to terms with it psychologically. So that sounds fun. I mean, it sounds fun to me. I hope that sounds fun to you. I know we didn't really talk too much about career and stuff, but I mean, during this cycle, it's not like you won't have one, but that's becoming less important right now. You know, who you are recognized as is less important during this eclipse cycle, or there's going to be some cleansing or some clarifying or some purifying of what your role is in the first place, since the South Node is, the sun is your money planet, your career planet that rules your, like, you know, reputation and stuff. So it's like your reputation going into the 12th house for this eclipse is like, well, maybe it's not a time where you're getting recognized for what you're doing. Maybe you're doing something that you wouldn't want people to know you're doing. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. It could be a good thing that you're doing that's just not anyone's business. So I'm going to stop there for you, Scorpio. Let me know if it resonates. I always love hearing from you. And be sure to check out my aspects course in the link below. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye. Okay, now on to Sagittarius. All right, Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising, we have the eclipse, the Libra, solar eclipse in Libra, October 2nd, happening in your 11th house of friends, of acquaintances, of good things. You know, the 11th house is a good house. So this means you have your eye on community, on your vision for your next opportunity. You might be focused on friend groups, but with this South Node here, there might be more of a awareness of what you need to get out of your friend group. Like, you need to drain the swamp in the people that you deal with. I'm sorry, but it's the phrase that came to mind. But it really does feel like it's like who in your friend group is supporting you, who's good and who's not. And you might become really aware of what you want, but it does, with the South Node, it's like what needs to be released so that you can have your social life be how you want it to be, or have your, your connections with networking or with professionally be how you want them to be. So again, this is your membership to professional groups, if you are, your colleagues. It's your friend groups that you hang out with. It's the people you see if you go to like a party or something, but it's like the group of people, but it's more like the people that are like your network, kind of, Some of them are going to be close and some of them are going to be acquaintances. Some of them might be strangers you're just walking by. But the focus here is like, what are you moving toward in that 11th house of community, of community, whether it's professionally and maybe it's related to work, or whether it's on a personal level and like who you know and who you're connected to, that kind of thing. So some Sagittarius during this 6 months might join a new group of people. They might get clear on what's not working with the current group they're associating with, and be really aware of ways that the current group you're associating with isn't what you want it to be. If you have an audience on social media, you might get clear on what it is, who you're removing from your audience, like who you're getting rid of and that doesn't have to be with force, because it doesn't feel like it's a forced thing. It feels like it's a friendly thing, like just a friendly reminder, you're welcome here if blah, 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 blah. And it might be to like, just becoming more aware of what's not working. If you are teaching in groups or you're working with groups of any way, it's seeing what you need to let go of related to working with groups so that you can continue doing it. What parts of that process are you more attached to? And where do you need to release any attachments? Where do you need to release attachments to people you're just around? Okay, so that's the general vibe here. Now we have Mars in the 8th squaring this, so it's going to be maybe you have someone close to you who is going to defend you or stand up against certain people. But maybe it's also just being motivated to like pay off debt and realizing for some reason, I don't know how these are going to be connected, but you guys have to figure this out. And remember, it's general. Something about how you interact with the public maybe needs to change so that you can spend more of your money paying off debt. or so that you can focus more. Maybe you're focusing more on investing or interest or tax or something. And because of that, you meet some new people who are also doing that too. Or even more exciting, the eighth house is occult. So maybe you're meeting some occult people, some spiritual people, some people who are doing the things no one knows about. And you just jive with them and connect with them. With Jupiter in the 7th, trining the 11th, this eclipse will be a time where your friends might really help you, especially, since, let me think, Jupiter rules your 4th house of home. So friends or family might actually help you get hooked in with new people, create new connections, and more easily release the attachments to whatever connections or people or groups were just not right for you. And maybe, so maybe some Sages will leave a group and join another one, or start a new anything that puts you around different people. But others might stay with the same group of people, but someone who's on your side maybe can help you get rid of the loser or the one who's like bothering you, or the person who's not keeping the peace, or whatever the problem is in the group. The dynamic here, maybe there's someone who comes in and helps you. It's either a family member or a friend or a roommate or something who's like, no, they're a good person. And then now you have your reputation is good. So it could be that. So don't be afraid. I would say don't be afraid to let people help you, especially with matters that affect others. Maybe someone else has more influence and they come in and they're like defending you or helping you or supporting you and just like getting your name out there. Maybe you have a friend in a mastermind group or something, and then they introduce you and now you're hooked in, or something else like that. Don't say no to this, because Jupiter, like, that's the way to work with Jupiter, is say yes, because it only comes along every 12 years per house. So there's that. Now, let's talk about Venus here, because for you, Venus, the ruler of the eclipse, is in your 12th house, which is like private. So maybe there is someone who is, I don't want to predict negative things. Maybe it's possible, worst case scenario, Sag, that there's a group situation where there's someone in the group who's like really being gross in private with you, or like being shitty to you in private and being like, if you don't, I'm trying to think of an example. Like, you're never going to account to anything and everyone knows that what you just said wasn't true. Things like this, where they're sort of trying to manipulate and gaslight, and like, if you don't let me do this creepy thing, then I'm going to go tell everyone you have AIDS or something, like, just sorry if that's offensive, but this is just apply that to your situation. Like, those kinds of threats behind the scenes that are private, that no one knows about. Now, other Sages might have a secret lover or a secret crush or something right now that is, I don't know, maybe there's something about that needs to be let go in the environment, but that's not really what I feel for like the most important side of this. The most important side of this is not that, but it does put matters affecting groups behind the scenes a bit from October 2nd for the next 6 months. It doesn't mean you're going to go into hiding, but that perhaps you're doing a certain amount of behind the scenes work, or behind the scenes focusing on the work you have to do so that it can be presented to a group. And it's like, you're not necessarily going to be up in front of the group the whole 6 months, but there's a focus on the audience, but there's also a focus on doing the work behind the scenes to put out to the public, or even in your job, doing work behind the scenes to publish for the boss or do for the boss. But it's like, you're not the one at the front desk. You're not the one necessarily managing the operation. For some of you, there's someone behind the scenes of a group who's pulling the strings. But either way, maybe someone else who is not behind the scenes, who's more generous and kind, is going to come along and like help you out somehow. What else do I see? I see Saturn in the 4th making matters of home right now be a little bit more slow moving, right? So if you're trying to buy a house or something, that might be more slow moving. And I also feel like Venus ruling that 11th, and with Saturn there trining it, makes it feel like, and Mars there, it feels like you want to make more friends, but you can't, or you want to make more friends, but you don't have access to the people you want to connect with, or you know, there's a struggle here that you're working through during this time of maybe feeling isolated or feeling like you can't quite fit in or get into a group, and then Jupiter can come along at some point here and help you find the right group to get into, or help you move forward with the group that you have. So if you're building an audience, it might be like it feels stuck, but then you find someone who's already done what you have done, and they help you get it unstuck, or they teach you what they know. And maybe it's a partner too. Maybe it's a lover. Maybe it's a husband or wife if you're already married. But overall, for this cycle, it's all about your next phase of life related to, you know, your wins and the gains that you want to have, and the friends that you want to have with you, and the community that's going to support those gains the most. And it's almost clearing out any desires you had to make gains that maybe weren't authentic. So from October 2nd, this is not on this day, but during this cycle the 6 months period is a time to consider what you really want for your hopes and dreams, and be willing to release aspects of that maybe weren't authentic. Sometimes you think you want to be famous, and you get famous and you're like, hell no. Like, that happens to everyone. But you guys, sorry, you know what I mean, where sometimes I thought I wanted to be an English teacher until an elementary school teacher, until I went and foreshadowed elementary school. And I was like, hell no, this is so boring. I'm bored. So apply that to your situation. There might be something during this 6 months that clarifies your hopes and dreams in life, of releasing a dream that was based on what your ego wanted, or what you thought you wanted, or what seemed like it would get recognition, or, you know, and then you realize what about that needs to kind of be let go of, and what about that needs to be kept. So that's what I have for Sagittarius. Don't be afraid to let people help you during this time, because you can have really good one-on-one support in reaching your dreams. So that's what I have. And join me in my aspects course. There's a link below for more. We're going to move on now to our next sign, which is Capricorns. All right. For Capricorns, Sun, Moon, and Rising, the solar eclipse in Libra is happening in your 10th house of career. Now, this is not just a simple, like, I'm going after the career I want, period. Point. End of sentence. It's not like that. This is a 6-month period where you're going to be focused on your reputation. You're probably going to be focused on what you're doing in your job, what job you have. But because it's a South Node solar eclipse, there's more focus on what you're experiencing in your work, in any ways that it doesn't line up with your vision, they're going to be revealed to you, especially when it comes to communication and networking, working with others, who you're collaborating with, the people around you, and how harmonious it is. Now, you also might find you just get clarification on what you don't want to be doing in your work, because that's what the South Node eclipse does. It sort of cleanses that area of what's no longer needed. It doesn't mean you let go of everything about it. So let's say you are at a job and you are doing all the work, and you've been feeling like maybe you don't really like that, but like you don't know. This might be the time, this 6 months, where you're like, you know what? Enough is enough. I don't want to do this anymore. It might not be. And it might not be that you now go quit your job. Maybe now you just stop doing the overtime, or maybe now you apply for a different position in the same department, or maybe you change your approach to it so you get recognized for the work that you are doing, or something like that. So with this eclipse, there's an awareness of what you feel like you need to let go of when it comes to the role you're playing in your job, in your life, what you are most known for. And again, it doesn't mean you have to stop all the way. It's just like anything that isn't authentic, you might be like, this has to go. But also, because the North Node is still in the 4th house during this period, we're still going to be focusing on our emotional foundation and our sense of belonging, and our feeling like we belong, our feeling of being okay in our own skin. So it's a balance here between both. Now, for this eclipse, we have Mars squaring from the 10th. It could be that there's something going on in a partnership especially significant other, if you're coupled, that is putting tension on the career. They might be, providing a source of energy, but they might also be, either pushing you too much or creating tension. So it's like, maybe they're not happy with your role. Maybe they are not supporting your next steps. The other people may have something to do with this. Now, this could be at work. The other people at work, the other people at the job are being passive aggressive and you don't like it. Or it could be something else where it's like other people at the job are creating tension, are creating roadblocks, are creating challenges. And that's what's motivating this whole thing. Now, if that doesn't apply, let it go. That might not be how this is showing up. Overall, though, in general, we see this is an important eclipse because Mars is angular and the sun is angular. The moon is angular. It's all about where are you going in life and who's going to be with you, especially with Venus in the 11th. Are you around toxic people right now, Capricorn? Are you around toxic people at your job? And you realize how much you want to get away from them, even though you like the work you do maybe, or you want to make money? Are you focusing on creating some kind of aesthetic, doing something beautiful, something with art or beauty that is going to be really intense or something? Is there something intense with relationships going on? But really with Venus, with the 10th ruler in the 11th, this is a time where you can be making money for the work you do. So it doesn't feel like it's all bad. It doesn't feel like you're just going to have a shit time. It actually feels like a lot of focus, positive, constructive criticism on yourself, or it could be focused toward becoming who you want to be in career by letting go of the things about you that you don't want to be there. Like, let's say you're an artist. This would be a time where you're killing your darlings. And so you're getting the feedback and the criticism from others that's like, oh, this is ugly, fix it, this perspective is off or whatever. And you're willing to put yourself through that because it's a process of getting better and you have to burn off the old to become the new. So this could be very constructive in this sense. And then Jupiter in the 6th house is helping and really feeding into this eclipse energy of like helping you to move forward in the role that you want to have. And Jupiter in the 6th is all about solving your day-to-day problems. It's putting in the work to get good at something, putting in the work to like master a skill and become an apprentice. It's like you're getting good at it. You're doing it over and over, or you're helping other people with it. It can also be, Jupiter in the 6th can also be, if there's problems coming up related to all of this, sometimes you get help, you get support from Jupiter. You don't always notice Jupiter in the 6th because it's like if you have a problem and someone helps you, you don't always know that's going to be Jupiter. I don't know how to explain it. It doesn't always feel like support because there's still a problem there to be solved. And sometimes we focus more on that. But it does feel like maybe the people in your environment might help and support you to sort of lift you up to become the speaker or the communicator or the artist or whatever it is, whatever role you have that you're trying to become. It does feel like you have support. Some of the support is you just solving the problems and doing the work, but like Jupiter helps. Jupiter will help come up with the idea to solve the problem. So let me see what else for Capricorn. Yeah, that really feels like a lot of it. And I am drawn to this grand trine between Saturn, Mars, and Venus, where it's like there is some feeling of, focusing on that 10th house of moving forward in your life direction that you want to move in, but then feeling like you're stuck and you can't do it, or you really want to do it, but it's going slower than you want. That's kind of built into this energy. So this will be a time of just like kind of keeping showing up and moving the needle just a little bit every day, kind of an energy. Definitely. So this is what I'm seeing for Capricorns. I always love hearing from you if it resonates. And check out my aspects course. There's a link below, and I'll see you all in the next video. Okay, going on now to our Aquariuses. For Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising, we have the solar eclipse in Libra happening in your 9th house of long-distance trips, travel, publishing, philosophy, the meaning of life, spirituality, and the law. So this is going to bring focus to these areas, but the focus is on what needs to be released. So what is it in your beliefs about spirituality that you're ready to let go of? You might be seeing the need to let go of certain beliefs. You might be revisiting a goal, because the ninth house is also kind of like our quest in life. So you might be putting focus on what is your quest in life and what do you need to do to let go of it. If you have ninth house topics active in your life, like you're a published author, or you publish things, or you work with the law, or you do anything with foreigners, or astrology, or any kind of spiritual work that's like teaching, if you're a teacher of any kind, a writer of any kind, well, then this might be you figuring out what you need to stop writing about, or what you need to stop, or like, you know, when you publish a book and then you cut things out in the edit. So you kind of have to think about like, what aspect of the ninth house applies to your life, and what of that are you cutting out? If we're thinking about the metaphor of your quest in life with that ninth house of like, this is the journey I'm going on, well, you might be cutting something out of the journey. If you're traveling, you might be taking something off the itinerary. So take that metaphor into your spiritual life for the next 6 months and what's meaningful to you. And you might decide something that was meaningful no longer is, or you might have a release of something along those lines. And so there's that. Now, in the ninth and third axis, I also think of like communicating what you know. And so it might be letting go of the need to always know more, and diving a little bit more into the communication side. Some Aquariuses may be dealing with that. Now, we also have Mars squaring the eclipse from the 6th house of, doing work and dealing with stuff you got to deal with. So this is you dealing with stuff you got to deal with for the purpose of going on the quest, or for the purpose of publishing, or whatever that ninth house thing is that you relate to the most. Also, higher education goes in here. It doesn't mean you're like letting go of a degree, but maybe if you're already in college, maybe you're going to not do a few classes that you thought you were going to, or you realize you don't need to, or something. Now, with Mars here, some of you might stop a trip, like if you're already overseas, maybe you come back. Or, you cut out some of the destinations or something. But with Mars in the 6th, you also might be busy, again, solving day-to-day problems, dealing with stuff, working hard. And there might be some kind of conflict between your desire to just be all spiritual and your need to have to work or something. Like you want to go on this trip and you have to bring your work with you, and it makes it less enjoyable, but you still go. You're just doing less sightseeing or something like that. Now, Venus rules the eclipse. It's in the 10th house of career, your reputation, your public life. So meaningfulness is motivating you wanting to kind of go deeper into a psychological topic at work, or something like that. There's a lot of other possibilities here, but it feels like maybe, because you're so focused on what's meaningful right now, maybe you're going to find work more enjoyable or more intense at this time. And your experience of work, maybe you're just working on something very artistic and that you want to kind of put out in the world that's like dark or grotesque, or, that like that. But it could also be that, you really, really, really want to move forward on your spiritual path right now, but the progress is slow. The progress isn't going super fast. Maybe because of a lack of funds. Maybe you want to travel and you can't because Saturn the 2nd, either you don't have the money, or you don't want to spend it, or you're just working hard on a lot of overtime right now, Aquarius, so that you can invest in something you want to invest in that is more meaningful. For some Aquariuses, maybe you're working less and making a little bit less and choosing to get by with less because you have a meaningful, important reason that is more important than work and day-to-day stuff. Now, Jupiter in the 5th can help. So for Aquariuses who have kids, or like just had a baby or something, maybe the baby helps you feel like life is meaningful. But for those who that's not the case, it's your self-expression might help you to connect with this 9th house goal of the next quest you want to go on, or your creativity, or your self-employment, or what projects you're working on that are like your own creative, you have your creative stamp on them. Those things, whatever they are for you, might be the things that are helping you or supporting you to do that stuff. You might get the help of a friend who's an artist at this time. If you have like kids who are old enough to help you, you might have a kid help you. Let me think. Oh, you could also get help from a lover. Yeah, you could get help from a lover. This can be because the fifth house is like dating. So this would be somebody you are dating or you see once or something, and they are not your long-term partner, or you just start dating. Maybe you start dating someone overseas or who speaks another language and now you want to learn it, or something else like that. Maybe the dating is going to actually, the person you date is going to be the influence toward, or the motivating factor toward what you're trying to accomplish with that ninth house journey. But most of you, probably not, but dating might help. Dating actually might help you solve whatever problems this eclipse is bringing that are unique challenges to you. Dating might help make it better. Dating maybe is making life more meaningful and helping you see where you need to let go of studying so hard, or something along those lines. So it does feel like a positive that's going to cause you to want to let go in a good way. Usually, like, sometimes the ninth house stuff can be challenging because it makes us wonder what we believe. And usually that is brought on by things that are not pleasant, right? Like, I mean, I don't want to give a bad example and then it's not true, but it's like you always thought it was going to be this certain way and it's not. So then you're disappointed. But yeah, that is what I have for Aquariuses. Let me know if it resonates. Check out my aspects course below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Moving on now to Pisces. For Pisces, the solar eclipse in Libra is in your 8th house of transformation. It's other people's money, other people's resources. It's getting enmeshed with other people. All right. So when you're focusing on this area for the next 6 months, this might simply be, I'm ready to pay off debt. I'm ready to pay off debt. I'm ready to deal with some tax stuff I need to deal with. I am going to invest money. And how am I going to do it? In the South Node way, through releasing something. Releasing some kind of shared resource. Well, maybe some of you, if you are a Pisces who has been relying on some kind of debt, like let's say you have student loans, maybe now the student loan, you just stop taking it out, right? Maybe you make more so you're more self-sufficient. If you have been sharing resources like renting a room from someone or something like that, maybe now you're like, it actually, it almost, I can't tell what you're doing, Pisces. You might be like, okay, now I'm getting my own place, or it could be changing it so that the shared resource is somehow more shared, or more, you get more money. Like you pay less for rent because you are mowing the lawn or something. I don't know. Fit that to what makes sense for you. But it does feel like alliances with joining up, especially financially, with other people, like going halfsies on stuff, whether it's a house or whether it's rent or whether it's, ride share or any other way you could go in on things with people, might be one way that you are saving money and you are, just deciding it's worth it. So think about how any of those things affect your life right now. Now let's talk about the occult side of the 8th house and the psychological side. This is usually facing fears, but it's like, it can be psychological awareness here. With the sun in the 8th, you want to face your fears. You want to deal with psychological stuff and let it go. Oh my gosh. I love this for you, Pisces, because if you have psychological challenges that are lingering around, if you have stuff that you haven't dealt with that you want to let go of and release, but maybe you haven't known how, this would be a time where maybe you find the right person or the right connection, or you get the right process through a spirit guide, or you're channeling the right thing to realize how to let it go, or to just create processes, right? Because I think of the 8th house kind of as facing a fear. And sometimes when we face a fear, it's because it happens, or it's because we go through something that's like not desirable, but sometimes it's intentional. Like someone doing ayahuasca or something else where they're consciously and deliberately taking actions for the purpose of growing by letting something go. Now, it doesn't always have to be ayahuasca, but it can be altered states of consciousness. It can be a time in life where you are going to like expand your mind, but also realize what you need to let go of, or like have a release of some psychological thing that you've been holding on to that maybe now you realize you don't have to hold on to anymore. So I actually love this for you, Pisces. Let's talk about the rest of the energy. We have Mars in the 5th house squaring up to that 8th house. So this can be a drive and motivation to express yourself that might be making you feel like you need to do this. And also, this can be sexual healing for some Pisces, because that 8th house is intimacy and the 5th house is also intimacy. So maybe you have an experience, where you meet someone or you whatever, and you realize you can be a little more open. Or you feel more open from an experience, a sexual experience, or an experience of pleasure that isn't sexual. But usually maybe it has to do with intimacy, like maybe getting more intimate and then realizing you don't want to, or getting intimate with someone and then having some kind of release of intimacy. What's a release of intimacy? Well, it's like intimacy stops, but it could be, it's possible you get close to someone and then you don't want to be close to them anymore. But that's not what I'm feeling. I'm feeling like there's a process of opening up here and really getting to know someone, or letting someone get to know you. And maybe there is a sexual component, maybe there isn't, but that it's for the purpose of like overcoming a fear. Like, I thought everyone hated me, but then it turns out this person really likes me. I don't know. I mean, everyone's different with what your fears are, but Venus ruling that 8th house, being in the 9th house of the meaning of life and the quest, it could be a foreigner in the 9th house, or it could be like your occult practices are bringing you closer to God, that like you really figured it out, like you dial it in, Pisces. You dial it in of what you actually need to do to connect with spirit in a way that is psychologically deep and meaningful and intense. And that is like a healing energy. Oh my God, I love this. And then Jupiter in the 4th, helping you feel better. Okay. Jupiter in the 4th is going to assist with the feeling of being okay in your own skin while you go through this process. So there could be so many ways this happens. It could just be you're learning occult things that make your life more meaningful, and it's a very therapeutic experience. Some of you could intentionally be seeking a therapeutic experience of any kind, whether it be like a medical thing where you're getting what you need on a physical level, and therefore your psychological improves, or whether it be a mental emotional thing where that Jupiter in the 4th is like helping you to get clear, like not even get clear, helping you feel better about who you are, helping you feel better about in your own skin, right? And then feeling better in your own skin, and then doing a little process to feel even more better, or to not feel better. Actually, I have to clarify this, because when I say feel better, it sounds like it's about going and getting laid and like just, I don't know. I can't even think of a bad thing someone does. Doing a line of cocaine, it's not that kind of feeling better, right? It's the kind of feeling better that's like wholesome, and that is like releasing something in the moment that might deal with some painful psychological stuff, but that by doing that, you feel better and you've released it, and it's letting go. So, I don't know. For some Pisces, it is possible challenging psychological stuff is coming up, but this is not how I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it more as like whatever is there is already there. And this is going to be a time of focusing on, how do I feel better in my own skin and connect with people and have deeper relationships? And what do I need to release when it comes to connecting with people that would help me to do that? And Jupiter in the fourth, what processes can I do at home to sort of heal this and help this? Now, for others who this is maybe more financial, maybe this has to do with going in on something with someone for rent or for like your house, right? Because Jupiter in the fourth can also help you either buy a house or find the right house or move to a different house. But maybe you need to like sign a lease, or maybe you need to sign a lease where two people are on it and you're sharing money or something. So there could be something like that, or you need to take a loan out to put a down payment, or you need to take a credit card out to, I don't know if you can put your deposit on a credit card, but you know what I'm saying. You need to borrow the money to make a down payment on an apartment or a house or a condo or something. So that's how it could show up more in like a more literal and physical sense. That really does feel like it sums it up for Pisces. So what we see, and remember that with the nodes, the North Node is still in the second. So even if you're sharing resources and stuff, it doesn't necessarily feel like Pisces is going to be poor this time and like not have money because of that 8th house. It feels more like making concessions and sharing with people in ways that doesn't hurt you, than ways that you're willing to benefit yourself more financially, like moving into a house with more people in it, with more rooms, so you can like pay less per room, but you get more, that kind of thing. That's kind of what I'm feeling, because that North Node in the second still is going to have you focusing on making money. You're still going to want to improve your finances, and you're still going to want to make them better. And there's still going to be that. And I feel like with let me see what else for you. Okay, with Venus ruling Libra and Taurus your 3rd house. There might be some kind of challenges with roommates here, or challenges with your neighborhood or your neighbors or something that you're dealing with. And the solution to the problem is like a slow one, maybe not a fast one. Maybe you're saving up money so that you can get out of a current living situation or move to a different neighborhood because yours has some problems you don't like or something like that. But overall, it's about sharing with people and becoming willing of what aspect of that you need to focus in on and what aspect to let go of. And then that psychological growth, overcoming fears, cleansing, and, therapeutic processes or activities that are designed to just make you feel like you are a better person and you are not carrying around so much baggage or carrying around pain. So that is what I have for Pisces. I'm looking forward to this for you. I hope this felt as positive to you as it does to me. It really does feel like you could do a lot with this. You could really come out of this 6 months feeling like a kind of a different person almost. Not different, but just someone who is not, lighter. I feel a lightness that could be manifest after this time. All right, so that is what I have for Pisces, and let me know if it resonates. Check out my aspects course in the link below, and I will see you, beautiful souls, in the next video. Bye, guys.